Well, hello, and welcome to another little bit of positive balance in an uncertain world with Therapy Ted and me. Now, today we have an issue that we need to put in place, and it's a follow-on from last week's video, which is about inflammation. So we didn't have to find out much more about it, apart from the fact that last week's balance was much more aimed at the physical side of inflammation from the point of view of what we eat and what we drink. Whereas this time it's inflammation that's caused by the stress that we're under. So, and that's very obvious when we see how this balance is actually playing out. So for those of you who are not aware, in fact, no, I will get the balance in place and then we'll talk a little bit about the stress response. Okay. Because Therapy Ted is itching to go. So we have quantum kinesiology balance. We are allowed to hold the emotional stress release points with the COSBATs. And these are going to be on the solar plexus chakra. Now, for those of you who have watched these before, you'll know that the solar plexus chakra is to do with your self-esteem, but it's also to do with your immune system. So it's a good chakra to make sure is really kind of robust. Well, we'll need all of them to be really, really good, but this one particularly for that. So we start off with an original trigger, and this is unresolved traumas. Now, all of us will have unresolved traumas in our past. Even things that we think we've dealt with will probably still be resonating at some level, even if it's just a small amount. For those of you who don't know why I sigh, it's to do with the fact that as the energy moves through, it's a kinesiology way of making sure that I don't retain any of those energies, which could then be doing me, I could be having problems with those further on. And you, if you know nothing about kinesiology, there is another video about what is kinesiology and how does it work. So I'll put a link down below. So we've got original trigger, unresolved traumas. We've then got original trigger, ancestral inheritance. So again, those pesky ancestors. And we need to be a bit more specific. And this is quite interesting because I don't know how many of you are watching this. So normally we wouldn't be this specific, get the word out, put my teeth in, unless I was working one-on-one really. But we're talking about 3 generations back. So we didn't need to be more specific than that. But 3 generations back, so you're looking at your great, not your parents, not your grandparents, but your great-grandparents here. We then have a survival mechanism, and this is sabotage. So it's ways in which you sabotage yourself. And this is to do with reactions. So it's how you react to things. And that ties in very nicely with the inflammation as well. And we'll discuss that when the balance is going through a little bit more. Our next harmonic is rehydrate cells. So a little surprised about that, considering it's been a bit cooler the last couple of days, but we probably all need to drink a little bit more water maybe. So help yourself to a glass of water after this. Or if you feel particularly dehydrated now, pause the video, go and get a glass of water, and then come back. So the next one is delete stress receptors in the cranial nerves. And finally, we have reduce inflammatory chemicals. And we don't have anything on the body, and there's nothing particular for you to think about. So we'll get Therapy Ted running on this. There we go. And, oh, yes, you can see him, that's fine. And then we'll start just talking a little bit about the stress reactions to with inflammation. And we'll also talk a little bit about those unresolved traumas. So the first thing I want to say is that I want you to take 3 deep breaths. And then I want you to go inside your body, and I just want to see how your body's feeling at the moment. Do you notice any tensions, any tightness, any pressure? It's always a good idea just to take like an inventory of how the body is feeling, especially when the balances are going through, because things change. Some people actually can feel pain during a balance. Always disappears afterwards, so that's always good. You can feel odd sensations sometimes in just particular parts of the body. And I want you just to think about your body and the fact that it has inflammation in it right now. And where do you think in your body might be more inflamed than somewhere else? For those of you who have particular conditions, this might be where the condition is. If you've got painful knees, or you get headaches regularly, maybe there's digestive issues. Maybe like me, you've actually got quite sore thumb and fingers on your right hand. I've been weeding the front drive, and my thumb and my first finger my nails feel very bruised. Yes, I'm getting ready for you coming back. Not quite yet, but we're getting there. Okay. I'm just going to put some music on. So it's just in the background. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about inflammation and these reactions that have been highlighted in this balance. So if it's comfortable for you to keep your eyes closed, then keep your eyes closed. If not, just soft focus on Therapy TED. So when we have a heightened stress response, so say something happens and we either feel fearful, or we feel angry, or any of the other more sort of heightened stress responses that could be seen as being slightly more on the vulnerable negative stage, then the body has a reaction because it's trying to work out whether you're going to fight or whether you're going to run away. And this creates a cascade of hormones and chemicals in the body. And this is perfectly normal and is actually a really good thing, as long as it's only every now and again. Problem comes when it happens frequently, or in some people's cases, it's a permanent condition because they work on a heightened stress response. So they actually are not aware sometimes that they have a heightened stress response. But if you take some time just to sit and be quiet, you can quite often feel this in a tension, maybe in your sort of gut region. You know, have you got tension in your shoulders? Do your shoulders feel really tight? You know, are they up around your ears somewhere? And some people actually feel that they're really relaxed and really quite calm, but then they'll overreact to something. And that can be an indication that they actually are running a little bit more with stress than they think they are. We actually call it the swan syndrome, which is you look really calm and serene on the surface and you're paddling like fury underneath to try and keep, you know, stationary with the current. And if you've been doing this for quite a long time, you can even get to the point where you've stopped recognizing that this is how you operate, and you actually think, you really do think you're really quite relaxed, but your body is paying the price. And inflammation can lead to so many problems physically in the body if it carries on. So we want to reduce that level of inflammation, and we can do that from the outside, as we said last video, because of what we eat and what we drink. But we can also do it by how we think and how we react. So if we are somebody who gets angry easily, gets upset easily, it might be worth looking at why you're reacting like that. Did you need to react like that? Could you have been a bit more relaxed about it? Could you just allowed it to go? There is a place for anger, and obviously there is a place for being upset. But I think a lot of people tend to overreact, especially when they feel that something is personal, that somebody has done something to them. And the reality is that probably 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 even, it's not personal. You just happen to be maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time. Although some people would say you're in the right place at the right time, because you need to look at your life and you need to look at why you're reacting like that. And it's interesting that we're on the solar plexus chakra, because this is about self-esteem. If somebody actually says something to you and you overreact, or you react in an aggressive way, or by getting very hurt, quite often, not always, but quite often, it's because what they've said has actually impacted you at a core level. That you are not worthwhile, that you are not lovable, that you are not whatever. So if we improve our self-esteem, if we improve our self-confidence and our self-worth, so that we know we're all right, and we know that we're a good person, and we know that all of these values that we hold are good values, that we are more about helping our world to be a calm world, a world that's got less suffering in it, and a lot more joy and contentment, then whatever that person says will bounce off a little bit more. We won't take it quite so personally. And you'll even get to a point where you can actually look at what they've said and actually feel sorry for them, because this says more about them than it actually does about you. Now, this can take some work, but I think if we stop looking at things as being personal, the world is out to get me, and look at it from the other person's perspective sometimes. That's not to say that they're right and you're wrong, but the fact that they may be in a bad place and they're just lashing out. If you can distance yourself from what's going on around you sometimes, it helps you stay calm, it helps you stay focused, it helps you to stay happier and content. Because all of that is within. It's not out there. It's not in what you buy. It's not in what you read. It's not in what you see. It's how you feel about yourself. And if you feel good about yourself and you realise that, I think what this whole situation has taught us is that we need very little above the basics to be really, really, truly happy. And we need to hold on to that. And that will bring our inflammation levels down. It will mean we don't react quite as quickly, that we have breathing time to come up with our responses to what's going on around us. And then we'd all be healthier and we'd all be happier. So I want you to go back, look inside your body, see where the tensions are. See if what I've just said has actually irritated you. Has it actually pushed any buttons? If your buttons are being pushed, there's something to work on. For those of you who are clients, you know I say that a lot. So Therapy Ted has done his stuff. He is done. Hopefully this has reduced some of your inflammatory chemicals. And we will say goodbye. And hopefully, well, we'll see you next Tuesday. And hopefully, who knows, I might be seeing some of you in person in the not too distant future. So have a lovely week, and we will see you soon.